Hello, everyone. My name is Carol from Brazil, and my presentation is about. No problem. You're excited. And I came here to talk about the historical high inflation problems in Brazil and how adoption is happening there. It's not as advanced like in El Salvador or Guatemala, but we have some stories to share. And I'm co-founder of Area Bitcoin Educational Project. We call it a Sovereign Accelerator. We want to accelerate the process of Brazilians to get into the rabbit hole. So, in case you don't know, Brazil is the biggest country in South America. We have 213 million people. And we use Brazilian real. That is most of my talk about all of our currencies and our current currency, that is real. And we are the 7th country in global adoption, second to Chainalysis. So when you hear about Brazil, what comes to your mind? Samba, parties, carnival, and also, what else? Soccer, Pelé, Ronaldinho, Kaká, and all these amazing soccer players. Also, favela and the architecture of some parts of our cities. But there's one thing maybe you never heard about. That is about our Jurassic fiats. All of our currencies that are extinct and dead through time and were killed by money printing. And we had a lot of them. It all started even before Brazil was a republic. It started when we were a Portuguese colony. So we had Real Imperial, Real Republic, Real Cruzeiro. They just changed the denominator into the cash notes, cut at zeros, did some rebranding, changed the color, the shapes, the heroes on our cash notes, and keep printing. And this happened through more than a century. This is all of the Jurassic fiats from Brazil. We had Cruzado Novo, Cruzeiro, Cruzado, Cruzado Novo, Cruzeiro, Cruzeiro. Not too much creative, right? Like 5 Cruzeiros, not lucky name. So if we watch it through time, the velocity of the death becomes faster. In the beginning, it took it like 40 years, 50 years. And in the final moments of the currencies, it took like 1 year, 3 years. In Cruzeiro Real, in 1 year, one note went from 1 Cruzeiro Real to 500,000, the denominator of the note. So they just cut at zeros and did the rebranding. So to summary, we had like 9 kinds and that were extinct in 80 years, 18 zeros cut, and 19 quadrillion percent inflation accumulated through all of this time. It is a lot. And this is what causes poverty and all the problems we have in Brazil. But it's not just about numbers, right? This is in practice what happens. So I remember I lived in the 90s. I had like 3 years or 4 years, and we need to do food stock. We buy everything we needed in the beginning of the month. So in the beginning of the month, things didn't get too much expensive. So this causes also food shortage. Everybody is buying everything in the beginning of the month, and food, it's over. Also, the repricing problem. The supermarkets needed to change the price of the products during night, so in the other day, the prices were accompanying the inflation rate. Also, the President Sarney, one of the presidents, created price controls. So he created like a table where the prices of the products should be and should cost. And he put all the population to be his fiscals. So the population should verify if the merchants were following this table. And if they were not following, the establishment were closed. So here we have two grandmas with their grandsons and fiscalizing the supermarket if they were following the Sarney's table. And distortions, right? Because this is a sign that we see in the supermarket that were closed because he says, dear customers, the lack of products in the store is due to the fact that some suppliers have not adjusted their prices in line with the economic stabilization plan. So to control prices is not a stabilization plan, right? Until we got the, in my opinion, one of the most traumatic moments of Brazilian economy. That's when the president confiscated the money inside the savings accounts in Brazil, the president collar. So until today, some people never got back the money that was stolen from the banking account of the population. And this resumes the money printing and the price reaching absurd inflation. So the more we print, the more the price goes up, becomes uncontrollable, comes hyperinflation, and everything that I just showed you happens. And then, in '94, the real plan started with Fernando Henrique Cardoso, a president from Brazil. He presented a Plano Real, a real plan, to fight the poverty. They did basically was to peg for 1 year, one year and a half, the real to the dollar, and then unpeg it later. So it, for a period of time, it really stabilized the inflation problem. If we compare to the previous moments where inflation reached around 2,000, almost 2,500% of inflation in 1 year, with the real plan, the inflation dropped absurdly, and now it's a little more stable. But I will show you that another Jurassic fiat is being created. So this is the real notes right now, but one of them is already a Jurassic fiat. That is the 1 real note. It don't exist anymore. It's only a coin. It's no longer a cash note. And they are creating, rebranding new ones. This is a 200 note that was launched like 2 years ago. It's a new note that we have. So they changed the currency, but not the printer. They keep printing, and since 2020, almost 40% of the money supply was increased just during this period of time. So they just keep printing, right? And real devaluated 86% in these 27 years. So the 100 note that had value in '94 when the real was launched now has the same purchase power around 13 reais. What is the sound? There's a cat in here? No? Okay, no problem. So this is the inflation in the last years. Last year were 10% inflation, and if we got together the last 4 years, almost 20%. That's how we get into the 86% devaluation through time, since real was launched. And last year, for me, was remarkable because all of the Brazilian assets were below inflation. Just Bitcoin was the only thing that was above inflation in Brazil. So if a Brazilian had Bitcoin, he would keep his purchasing power compared to other financial assets in Brazil. But this is another kind of Jurassic fiat. Brazilian central bank created a payment system called Pix. It's instantly, it's fast, had fast adoption, 70% of population already adopted, but it's fiat again, right? And it connects to the CBDC. Brazil is creating a real digital, a digital Jurassic fiat. And they are putting like locks. If bank runs happened, they can lock and people can't withdraw the CBDC to bank notes. And also they are connecting with DeFi protocols. So our CBDC is just a shitcoin, right? If they're connecting with other protocols and are doing all the central bank stuff, they are recreating the shitcoins. And also, we are having a Bitcoin law that it's not just like El Salvador, it's the opposite. It will regulate exchanges and avoid scams. And just needs to be approved by the deputies and the presidential, but it's the opposite of what should be a Bitcoin law. But there's a parallel universe right now happening, that is the Bitcoin parallel. And sorry for the data, because all of the journals mixed up crypto with Bitcoin. So I'll bring here some main media data that runs through Brazil. So Brazil is the leader in numbers in adoption in Latin America, and it's the 7th across the world. Also, we have some cases of real estate constructor is accepting Bitcoin when buying apartments in São Paulo. And also the governor of Rio de Janeiro said that he would put Bitcoin in the treasury of the city. Let's see if he will keep the promise, right? And according to the Receita Federal, our IRS, from last year, August 2021 till now, the number of CPFs, Brazilian IDs that are negotiating, tripled in a year. So this shows that more people are interested in buying Bitcoin through time. And also, other studies show that around 10 million Brazilians, 5% of the population, are wanting to buy Bitcoin and to hodl Bitcoin. That's 2% of the world market. And we see a lot of institutional investors and funding and growth coming, but also all through banks and through exchanges, right? But there's something nice. In my city, Porto Alegre, the city councilors turn Pizza Day into a celebrating date. So this is something that's happening. But also Brazil has a lot of scammers. Through time, all of the banks, financial institutions, trained us to leave the money with them and give up our autonomy. So that's why I guess a good number of Brazilians fall into scammers and fall into pyramids. So for it to be avoided, we need education. We need to educate the population that is Bitcoin. Bitcoin don't promises nothing. No promises get rich schemes, right? We need to educate the population about what Bitcoin is and what it is not. So that's why we're here. We are Area Bitcoin, a sovereign accelerator, where we want to accelerate the process of getting into the rabbit hole. We do this through social media. We have our free content on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, newsletters, articles, our own website. And we started everything reaching merchants and telling them how to accept Bitcoin in their business. This is a clothes store in Porto Alegre that accepts Bitcoin. We do meetups, and we have our own school where people can come and learn with us and help to create this new Bitcoin standard. That's it. That's why Brazilians need Bitcoin. Our currency in the last 10 years was the 4th worst currency in the world, and it's just another Jurassic Fiat being born. It's a Jurassic Fiat baby right now being born. And Brazilians need Bitcoin to protect from the collapse of real or any other fiat currency. That's it. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions. Okay. No questions? Who's the cat? Yeah, I hope so, right?
I was wondering, what's the remittance landscape in Brazil? I know it's a gigantic country, and I know it pays a big role in the economics with GDP. Like, what are the
I don't have the number of remittances, but most use is hodl and speculative for Bitcoin. So I think that with time, more hodlers are being created, and most education part is brought by Bitcoiners that are teaching those who want to learn. But remittances is not something so common as other places in around Latin America. Yes.
Which exchanges in Brazil support Lightning? Is there any like exchange where you can like onboard fiat and then like have a Lightning port?
For Lightning, there is two. There is BIPA and Biscoint.
Okay, so DIPA supports it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of exchanges going to Brazil, and a lot of them are big there. And most of them are pushing the central bank CBDCs and other protocols narrative.
For sure. Okay. Yeah, thanks.
No more?
What's the government reaction to the Bitcoin adoption? You said that there is some regulation being done, but what does that look like?
The regulation is to promote CBDC. And for me, they are competing to don't let people to see Bitcoin. They want their CBDC to be the main thing. So there's nothing being done in pro-Bitcoin, but anti-Bitcoin.
I know there's Praia Bitcoin, but are there other local communities in Brazil that you see a lot of adoption?
Yes, there's Praia Bitcoin. Fernando is here, where they're teaching children in a school in Jericoacoara how to purchase scholar materials and through Bitcoin, through Lightning. And there's also 21, that is a project, a Brazilian project to help develop more devs and open source devs for Bitcoin. Okay, thank you.